Wilson twins are incredibly enigmatic. Their work grew out of the strange secret world of childhood games and to this day retains an aura of mystery. There's no clear roadmap for the viewer. There's no words. Their work is slow burning, lingering, strange and hypnotic.
Jane and Louise were born in Newcastle in 1967. Recently, they've returned to Tyneside for the opening of 2 new film installations at the Baltic Centre for the Contemporary Arts in Gateshead. Dreamtime is one of several works made in military zones. Shot in Kazakhstan in 2001, it documents the rituals around a rocket launch. Although it's very nearly contemporary, it has the atmosphere of a Cold War movie. The launch is peculiarly theatrical. The rocket, supposedly an emblem of the future, already seems to belong to the brave new world of the 50s.
The twins' work is steeped in the atmosphere of Newcastle and its architecture of obsolescent industrialism, its disused mills and factories, its iron bridges and shipyards. Jane and Louise's father was a naval architect who designed the ferry The Pride of the Tyne, and growing up they saw the closure of a lot of factories and shipyards in the northeast. The theme of Jane and Louise's new work at the Baltic is ostensibly regeneration. In fact, it juxtaposes a fallen utopian architecture with the eerily unpopulated world of high tech.
Jane and Louise based the structure of their 13-screen installation on the plains of a pavilion designed for a new town by the artist Victor Pasmore in the 50s. Once a utopian symbol of urban regeneration, it's now covered in graffiti and used by the local children as a kind of climbing frame.
Keep running through, guys.
How come they're on the side? Come on this side.
Ah, look at the state of it. It really hasn't survived too well, has it?
I know, it's now become a listed building, but...
It's actually listed, but it looks like this.
Well, they were going to tear it down because it's had so much kind of...
Negative press.
well, and also just the local community really didn't, embrace it. They weren't happy about it, because it does look kind of quite godforsaken and ugly.
So originally, I mean, it was a folly, it was a pavilion.
Oh, it's kind of, he described it, Pasmore described it as sort of like this free and anonymous monument on which to play.
Free and anonymous.
On which to play and on which to walk through and from which to view from. And I think he sort of didn't want to make like a church or a club or a, you know, kind of meeting point as such that was sort of, you know, quite sort of either formalised or religious or all of those connotations. I think he just wanted it to be like this sort of modernist intervention.
I worked with them for so long now, I sort of know more or less how they're going to look at it and what they want. Often they do seem to have a completely separate way of looking at things, and yet they always seem to come together in the end, and it seems to be very unified.
So how on earth do you go about deciding what to put on 13 screens simultaneously?
I think probably what we've started to do is plan out the 13 separate edits, and you know, basically we were starting off with the footage of the pavilion.
You take it in turns, or are you both making decisions about?
Both making decisions. Right. It's not, I mean, in a way we tend to be fairly, both of us, if I've forgotten something or Louise is covering something, or, you know, it's kind of like, it's just a way to kind of probably take on the whole scale of it. It's quite good having two people. One gets brain fatigue and the other one takes over, So you come in this way and you sort of walk through this undercroft, and then the first thing you see this one projection which is floor based here, and then as you come out then you see this overhead projection, and so it's sort of like it's almost like a walk through experience.
Some places are ruins. There's some abject spaces, as well as these absolutely pristine, highly mechanised, dust-free environments. So there are things which are failing, like with the Pasmore Pavilion. A lot of these other places are just falling into desuetude. They're collapsing. In a way, the entropy is at work here. Those dust-free spaces won't forever be dust-free.
I thought from the model that we might be more enclosed than we are, but it doesn't bother me at all. You know, it's still, from certain angles you can tell that it's a building. Yeah, but also it's quite nice when people walk in front of the projections, because you kind of get this bit where you sort of like somehow the people in the space start animating the space as well as sort of the you know, the sort of people inside actually filming in the projections. Yeah, no, totally. So there's something kind of quite, again, that's something you don't really... Well, you get the silhouettes and stuff. I actually quite like it when you're around, in a way, looking at it from outside as much as being inside. Because it's a way that, like you say, suddenly the architecture sort of becomes manifest. Speaks to you, But I mean, it is so much more than that, really. I don't know, I mean, it seems to me like where you place the screens was just kind of a way of working out the beginning of the story, and there's so much happening in front of you that the form of the screens does become secondary. It's very, you know, you can't predict it. And it's so visceral, it's so in your face and huge and noisy and colourful, and you know, it's almost like you don't need words and you don't need to know it's the pavilion. You don't really need to know any of that. What's also really nice is that you don't need one you know, it's not sort of dictating one specific orientation. Do you know what I mean? That you can stand outside, stand inside, whatever, sort of, you know, and you can kind of move around it. Anyway, there's not actually one particular point of view in a way.
The locations represented on the 13 screens of a free and anonymous monument include an oil rig, a microchip factory, a ruined space-age style restaurant, and a car park. An imagery which is spectacularly choreographed in Jane and Louise's installation.
Instead of using the existing space and using the